Dear students, you are welcome in this class. Good afternoon to all of you. And today we are going to discuss basic soil-plant relationship. The main objective of this lecture is to understand the influences of plants on soils and vice versa. Means how plants are helping soil, are plants good for soil, or what plants are doing to the soil, and vice versa, what soil is doing to the plants. So this is the relationship with each other. That is, discuss the basic soil-plant relationship. Means how soil is helping the plants, what are the important functions of the soil that help the plant or with regard to plants, and how plants are influencing soil properties. So these are interrelated aspects, and these are covered under the topic soil-plant relationship. So at this point of time, I want to know from you how this soil is helping the plants. How soil is helping the plant. And one important thing is that plant and soil interaction happens mainly with the help of roots. So plant has two parts, root and shoot. So this shoot is getting indirectly influenced by soil, but roots are in direct contact with the soil. So via roots, the shoot portion is influenced by the soil, and roots are in direct contact of the soil. So how this soil is helping the plant? How soil is interacting with the plants? Just give me your answer. Yeah, Tripti.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
By supplying nutrients and water.
Good. Very good. Oxygen also. Nutrients, water, oxygen, and anything else?
Encourage.
Means it supports the plant, and plants are upright, they are straight, they stands on their foot. So foot of the plant is root, of course. And how these plants will influence the soil? How plants are important for the soil? Okay, soil is helping the plants, and how plants are helping the soil? What plants are doing for the soil? Soil is giving them mineral, water, air, support, everything soil is giving to the plant. Is there anything which is given by plants to the soil? Any idea?
Sir, reduces soil erosion. Also, root exudates is good food for microorganisms.
Excellent. So, any other thing you want to add?
Organic matter.
Organic matter. Very good. So one says that organic matter is added to the soil, and plants are selfish. They are adding organic matter for their own purpose, because when the organic matter which is received from the plants, they can shed their leaf fall can be there, the root portion will remain in the soil, or some carbohydrates are released through the roots, which is known as root exudation or rhizoimposition. And that carbon is helping the plant back by increasing the growth of microbes. So this is how this, and plants can protect the soil from erosion also. This is again the benefit of the plant. Somebody's microphone is on. So overall, we will discuss this subject, and just in very brief, some difficult words. Anion is a negatively charged ion, is an anion. Base saturation. Somebody's mic is on. Please make it off. Hello? Somebody's mic is disturbing the class. Now, base saturation, fraction of the total exchangeable cations that are base cations. That is your base saturation. Buffering capacity of soil, ability of a soil to resist change in concentration or activity of its constituents, and its properties in response to external intervention. If any external intervention is there, that is going to make certain changes in the soil, but soil is able to face or able to resist those changes. That characteristics of the soil is called as buffering capacity. So buffering capacity is taken in two different senses. One sense is with respect to different soil properties, and one sense is with respect to resupply of nutrients to the soil solution. Buffering the soil solution with the nutrients is also buffering capacity or buffering ability of the soil. Cation, the positively charged ion is a cation. Diffusion, I think you know how nutrients move in soil from one place to the roots of the plant. Diffusion, mass flow, and your contact exchange. Ions in the soil medium move from a point of higher concentration to the lower concentration. Ion, what is ion? Atoms, groups of atoms or compounds which are electrically charged as a result of the loss of electron or gain of electrons. Nutrient mobility, we are going to discuss in detail. Nutrient mobility, ease with which nutrients move from one place to another in soil. That is your nutrient mobility. It affects the uptake of nutrients and also susceptibility of nutrients to losses. Somebody is very careless. Somebody is very, very careless, and he's not listening. The mic his mic is still on. Somebody can inform him, please. Soil mineral, a mineral that is usually a constituent of the soil or a natural inorganic compound with certain intrinsic properties in soil. Soil solution is important here. Liquid phase of the soil, which contains dissolved nutrients in plant available form, is soil solution. So soil solution is very, very important. It contains nutrients in available form that are readily taken up by the plants. So this is liquid phase actually, and one is solid phase. Solid phase includes your colloids. The nutrients which are adhered to the colloids are in solid phase. Now, available nutrient is portion of any element or compound in soil that can be readily absorbed and assimilated by plants. Base forming cations. Those cations that form strong bases by reaction with hydroxyl. K-ion forms potassium hydroxide. So it is base forming cation, K+. Crumb is a kind of structure which is soft, porous, more or less rounded natural unit of structure from 1 to 5 millimeter in diameter. Exchangeable ions, I think each one of you knows about it. These are positively or negatively charged atoms, or they are groups that are held on the surface of a solid particle by attraction to charges of the opposite sign be replaced by other like charged ions in soil solution. You might be knowing that in soil you have two kinds of colloids. One are organic colloids, which is humus, and inorganic colloids, which is your clay minerals. So these colloids, organic and inorganic, have overall negative charge, and they also have some positive charge. But negative charge outweighs the positive charge. Therefore, these colloids can have ions on their surfaces, both positive and negative ions on their surfaces. But they have very large amount of positively charged ions, which are exchanged with the soil solution. That is your cation exchange. And the total quantity of cations that a soil or 100 gram of soil can have or absorb, that are absorbed, is your cation exchange capacity. Similarly, there may be certain anions on the clay complex or organic colloids. They are also exchanged with the hydroxyls, and this is your anion exchange capacity. So just two or three more important terminology. For example, sometimes a student may come across sorption and desorption. So what is sorption? It is the common term used for both absorption and adsorption. So sometimes people cannot distinguish whether two particular compounds or molecules or two things are mixed by absorption or by adsorption, or some structure have received a particular compound or ion by the process of absorption or adsorption. It is not clear. then people use the term sorption. Sorption is the common term used for both absorption and adsorption. So what is absorption? It is the incorporation of a substance in one state into another state of a different state or of a different state. For example, liquids being absorbed by a solid or gas being absorbed by water. So that kind of mixing of substances means liquid mixes with solid or liquid mixes with gas or gas mixes with liquids. That is your absorption. Adsorption is the physical adherence or bonding of ions and molecules onto the surface of another molecule. So here they are just attached to the surface. Unless it is clear which process is operative, we don't know whether it was because of absorption or adsorption. We use the term sorption. Desorption is opposite of sorption. A substance is released from or through a surface. When it is released back, the process is the opposite of the sorption. That is either adsorption or absorption. Sorption describes the action of absorption and adsorption. It is more simplified. Sorption describes the action of absorption and adsorption. So desorption is the opposite of sorption. The major difference between adsorption and absorption is that one is a surface process. One is a surface process, that is your adsorption. And the other is a bulk process, means mixing happens. So your absorption is a bulk process. Adsorption takes place on the surface of a substrate. Hope it is now much clear. And absorption, one substance enters the bulk or volume of another substance. For example, a gas is absorbed by a liquid. That is your absorption. Of course, uptake of water is also absorption. Desorption is the release of one substance from another, either from the surface or through the surface. Opposite of sorption. Now, for this topic, I suggest these references, and I think you do not have these references. If anybody is interested, I can share. Otherwise, chapter number 2, I already told you, chapter number 2, somewhere this, soil fertility and fertilizer book, I suggested, you already suggested. And there is one chapter, basic soil plant relationship. Each one of you should read every single line of this chapter. This is very, very important chapter for all of you. And you see, this chapter includes ion exchange in soils, buffering capacity of the soil, mineral solubility in soils, supply of nutrients from organic matter, movement of ions from soil to roots, and ion absorption by plants, and written in very, very simple language. So friends, if you see that basic soil plant relationship involves these kind of reactions or actions in soil. So basic soil plant relationship includes ion exchange, buffering capacity of the soil, mineral solubility, supply of nutrients, movement of ions from soil to roots, ion absorption by plants. So overall, you can see this involves the nutrient availability and uptake. The basic soil plant relationship mostly revolves around the nutrient availability and uptake. So nutrient availability and uptake is also part of soil fertility course. So it is not possible to teach you everything related to this chapter or this relationship. I will restrict only to one or two aspects. So here you see soil plant relations. See the shoot part, the green part, and gray part. Gray part or your yellow, what you call the color, this part, brown part. And you see green part is your shoot where you get photosynthesis. So plant will have photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll. And it will synthesize carbohydrate. It will make carbohydrate. And generally, some carbohydrates will be released through the roots. They are about, on an average, maybe 30 to 40% of carbohydrates are released. Synthesized carbohydrates or carbon is released by plants into the soil. That can be utilized by microbes, and they multiply in number and they increase the nutrient availability. So plant is releasing these compounds or organic compounds, which are mostly acids, enzymes, proteins, lipids, variety of mixture of organic compounds are released by the roots. The process is root exudation or rhizodeposition, the process. And that encourages the bacterial growth, fungal growth, which help the plant in getting nutrients, getting higher availability of the nutrients. And not only that, these microbes will release some hormones which can increase the root growth also, or growth of the plant. So that is how plant is indirectly helping itself by releasing carbon into the soil. Now see the root part. The root part is taking oxygen. Oxygen is necessary for the roots, and then releasing the carbon dioxide. And at the same time, it is taking water and it is taking mineral. So if you see the mineral availability, mineral here means your nutrients. Nutrient availability and uptake are directly related to the water content in soil, the oxygen supply in soil, and the structure of the soil or other soil properties. So most of the soil properties will influence the mineral availability of the nutrients. Now we see the function of the soil. There are 6 functions of the soil. Each student should remember the 6 functions of the soil: medium for plant growth, regulator of water supplies, recycler of raw materials, habitat for soil organisms, filtration and detoxification, and landscaping and engineering medium. You can make buildings and you can make some landscapes. Now, influence of plants on soil. Plant-induced changes in soil processes or properties. What plants are doing to the soil? Number 1, roles of plant in carbon cycling. So we just discussed that is deposition of organic materials, organic matter, and then burial and emission. Some of the plant parts will fall on the ground or will remain in the soil, for example, roots or leaves, and they are mixed into the soil, and some may be emitted back, carbon dioxide emitted back into the atmosphere by the process of decomposition of organic material. Number 2, role of plant in soil acidification. They go for exudation, root exudation, which contains acids, and it acidifies the root environment. In and around the roots, the soil will be acidified, and particularly it increases the availability of the nutrients. If soil is alkaline in nature, then you can find that iron availability is increased. The role of plant in the weathering of soil minerals. If you have studied weathering of soil minerals or weathering of rocks occurs first, and then minerals are produced in smaller pieces, making your soil. So even in weathering also, there is role of plants, chemical weathering, biological weathering, physical weathering, many kind of agents are there for weathering. Similarly, at soil level, these minerals are broken down with the help of certain plants, plant activities. You might be knowing about soil weathering. Protection of soil from erosion. How it protect the erosion because of particularly this rainfall, water erosion, or even air erosion or wind erosion. Both are soil is protected. You get cover from the plants, and the rooting action improves the structure of the soil. Soil organisms are there which have multiple roles. So they live in soil, and their growth is enhanced by the plants, presence of plant, the diversity. If you take diversity, crop diversity is increased, so is the organism diversity in the soil. Now, this was very small part, how plants are influencing the soil. Now come to the main part, soil-plant relationship. Soil-plant relationship, what soil gives to the plant. So water, nutrients, support, and oxygen. These are 4 important. And as I told you, these nutrient supply will be affected by water and oxygen. Uptake of water, nutrients, and oxygen is mediated by roots. The interaction of soil and plant is always through the roots. Roots attach the plant to the soil. Water, nutrient, and oxygen uptake affected by soil physical, chemical, and biological properties. All these three are influenced by soil. Soil properties are affected by, if you see the soil property, they are affected by climate in which the soils have developed. Clay contents is also important, soil organic matter content, water content, temperature content, and soil organisms. So these property, affect the soil property, climate, clay content, soil organic matter, water content. If you take soil structure, texture, organism, CEC, and pH, soil properties, which are influenced by climate, soil type, and so on, will govern the nutrient reserves or supplies, ion mobility, movement or uptake, water uptake, microbial interactions, decomposition, enzyme. Means these are very complicated things or very interactive things that we need to understand. Now see, we come down to the soil can affect the plant growth by affecting nutrient availability and uptake and root growth. Root growth is also important, and root growth will be influenced by plant factors. It will be influenced by soil factor, climatic factor, management factor. Variety of factor will affect the root growth. Water availability and uptake of nutrients or uptake of water, oxygen and air supply, insect pest and disease management. They are also up to some extent governed or controlled by the soil. You might be knowing that a particular kind of soil will have more disease than the other. So out of all these five, we will discuss only nutrient availability and root growth. How this soil can affect the plant growth, mainly by nutrient availability and root growth. So main contribution, out of all the contribution, main and most important contribution of soil is in supplying, in giving the nutrients to the plant, the mineral nutrients to the plant. So already given you reference, I think you know, and ultimately in nutrient availability, you know, one full course is there, soil fertility and nutrient management. So all the things which are taught in the soil fertility and nutrient management are basically part of the soil plant relationship. They are part of the soil plant relationship. So you can see that for uptake of the nutrients, they have to be in soluble form in the soil solution. And for uptake, and they come from different sources in the soil. So we want nutrients in the soluble form in the soil solution. So in soil solution, the nutrients can be removed, can be taken up by the crop. They can be lost as through the drainage or percolation, and nutrients can be added to the soil solution through soil, through air. Air can also bring certain nutrients to the soil solution. Organic matter and microbes, they can also give nutrients to the soil solution, and also they can take back. Microbes can also take back. You can see they can take back. Similarly, nutrients can go back. They can be denitrified, they can be volatilized or some losses. It can go back to the air or come back to the soil from air. And similarly, these from the solid phase, from the colloids, the nutrients can come to the soil solution and they can also go back to the colloids. And mineral solubility, some nutrients are in chemical forms. So directly minerals can solubilize like phosphate minerals, and they can release the soluble phosphate and they can go back to the fixation. So I think you will be able to understand this picture. Plant nutrient availability is affected by different physical, chemical, and biological properties. Understanding these processes and how they are influenced by environmental conditions enables us to optimize nutrient availability. Why we are studying this? If we know what are the important factors and how much is the contribution of these factors in nutrient availability and uptake, then we can modify the nutrient management practices, or we can optimize the nutrient management. Therefore, we are studying it. If we did not know that phosphorus has very less movement in the soil, then why would have we recommended that phosphatic fertilizer should be placed? For nitrogenous fertilizer, you can go for broadcasting. but for phosphatic fertilizer, it should be placed. It came by having the knowledge that phosphate moves very slow in the soil and your nitrogen moves fast in the soil. So the understanding of the soil's ability to provide plant nutrients is thus necessary. Nutrient supply to plant root is very, very dynamic. It changes with time and the conditions of the soil. Plant nutrients are cations and anions are absorbed from the soil solution by plant roots, which also release small quantities of hydroxyl and hydrogen ions and bicarbonate back to the soil solution. You may be remembering the exchange of nutrients from the roots. All aqueous solutions, soil water or plant cell water, must remain electrically neutral, where an equal number of ions with positive and negative charges are present. If there is an imbalance in cation and anion uptake in plant root cells, these cells release cations or anions depending on the imbalance. So plant will automatically make the balance. This process can influence soil solution pH also. As plant roots absorb nutrients, the nutrient concentration in the soil solution decreases. You know, the nutrients are there in the soil solution in the available form. They are taken up by the crop. So there will be shortage of nutrients. And this shortage will be met through different means. So as a result, several chemical and biological reactions occur to buffer or resupply these nutrients to the soil solution. The specific reaction that occurs depends on the cation or anion. You will see in detail, ions adsorbed to the surface of the clay minerals dissolved from these surface to resupply the soil solution. So one is exchange. Ion exchange, adsorption and desorption in soil is an important chemical reaction to plant nutrient availability. Soils also contain minerals that can dissolve directly to resupply the soil solution, resupply the nutrients to the soil solution. This is another source, addition of nutrients or ion through fertilization. You can apply the nutrients from outside or other inputs increases ion concentration in the soil solution. Although some of the added ions remain in solution, some are adsorbed for mineral surfaces or precipitated as solid minerals. So some will be fixed in the soil. Some fraction of soluble ions or soluble nutrients can be fixed back. As soil microbes degrade plant residue, they can absorb ions from the soil solution into their tissues. Sometimes microbes can also eat the soluble ions. When microbes or other organisms die, they release it back to the soil solution. That is interesting. They will not take it away. They will leave again into the soil solution. Microbial reactions are important to plant nutrient availability as well as other properties related to soil productivity. Microbial activity is dependent on adequate energy supply from organic carbon. That may be, for example, crop residues, inorganic ion availability, and numerous environmental conditions. Plant roots and soil organisms utilize oxygen and respire carbon dioxide through metabolic activity. As a result, CO2 concentration in the soil air is greater than in the atmosphere. Numerous environmental factors and human activities can influence ion concentration in soil solution, which interacts with the mineral and biological processes in the soils. For example, adding phosphatic fertilizer to soil initially increases H2PO4, a soluble ion concentration in the soil solution. With time, H2PO4 concentration will decrease with plant uptake and H2PO4 adsorption on mineral surface and P mineral surface precipitation. So it will convert it into other forms also. All of these processes and reactions are important to plant nutrient availability. However, depending on the specific nutrient, some processes are more important than the others. For example, microbial processes are more important to nitrogen and sulfur availability than mineral surface exchange reaction, whereas the opposite is true for potassium, calcium, and magnesium. sources of supplying mineral nutrients to the soil solution. So as plants take up the nutrients, there will be shortage of nutrient in the soil solution. So solution has very small fraction of total nutrients, and as nutrients are taken up by the plants, it will be buffered by nutrients from outside the soil solution. So what are the sources? One can be minerals. Soil minerals can directly supply nutrients to the solution. Exchangeable cations or anions can also enter soil solution. Chemical compounds can give certain ions, and organic matter can also supply nutrients to the soil solution. You can see this picture. Plant uptake is there. Organic matter and soil organism can supply some nutrient to the soil solution. They can take back. Leaching or drainage or runoff, you can lose the ions or nutrients. Surface exchange with cations and anions, mineral solubility or weathering, like these phosphatic minerals, your apatite, etc. Readily, moderately, and slowly available nutrients. The absorption of nutrients by plants depends upon their form. What is their form? So phosphorus is speedily available to plants as H2PO4 is the most preferred form of phosphorus for plant. HPO4 comes at number 2 and PO4 power 3 comes at number 3. So rapidly in tricalcium phosphate or apatite form. Nutrients in soil solution are rapidly available for uptake. Nutrients on exchange complex are also available for absorption, but not quite as readily available as those present in the soil solution. You can see this case, relative mobility of different forms of inorganic P. Inorganic P in soil, mineral P and very strongly adsorbed P. So what kind of minerals you can have? Calcium, iron, aluminum phosphate. These are precipitated phosphate minerals and very strongly adsorbed P. This is very strongly adsorbed P and availability is very low. Strongly adsorbed P adsorbed to clay and other mineral surfaces. This adsorbed P, low availability, weakly adsorbed. Here, instead of strongly, it is weakly adsorbed. P adsorbed to clay and other mineral surfaces, availability is high. And solution P, H2PO4, HPO4, highest availability. Cycling of nutrients in the soil, we can join the next link again. Now you see the cycling of nutrients in the soil. This is losses and gains. Important points in cycling of nutrient in the soil is plant uptake reduces the amount of nutrient in the soil solution. Nutrients adsorbed on minerals or humus get dissolve and enter the soil solution. Nutrient added as minerals or organic manures increase the iron concentration in soil solution, and minerals in soil dissolve to buffer, resupply the soil solution. The soil organic matter also undergo decomposition and supply nutrients. Soil microbes absorb nutrients from soil solution and release nutrients back into soil solution after their death. The biological N fixation increases nutrient availability. Biological N fixation, you know, free living bacteria or your rhizobium symbiotic bacteria fix. Nutrients are removed by crop harvest. Large fractions of certain nutrients lost by erosion, leaching, runoff, volatilization. So it completes this presentation. If you have any question, you are most welcome. So now we see, just now we have seen that if we want good growth of the crop, good growth of the plants, then there should not be shortage of nutrients in available form in the soil solution. Minimum quantity of nutrients should be there in the soil solution. And for that, we get...
Your slide is not...
Okay, just to check it. Actually, I have not moved. So is it moving now? Is it moving?
It is not visible till now.
It is not visible? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. I'll try again. Stop share. I will share again. Share. Is it moving? अरे यार गलत लगा this. Stop share. Is it moving?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We struggled, really struggled. And if any problem comes, just inform me, please. So we have seen that the sufficient quantity of different nutrients is necessary in the soil solution. And we also know different sources in the soil from which it is coming. Suppose your exchangeable nutrient or exchangeable nutrients are less in the soil, then you need to go for external application of nutrients through fertilizers or through manures. Let us see the factors that influence the supply of mineral nutrients. Supply of mineral nutrients in soil. So factors influencing supply of mineral nutrients in soil is number one, mobility of nutrients in soil, cation and anion exchange capacity of soil, base saturation in soil, buffering capacity of nutrients, soil pH, soil organic matter and its decomposition by microbes, and physical conditions of the just a minute. So these are the 7 factors which are listed here that will affect supply of mineral nutrients to the plants. Number one, mobility of nutrients in soil. I think most of you must be knowing how fast a nutrient moves from one place to another place and how far it moves. What kind of distribution of this nutrient is there in the soil that decides the mobility of the nutrients. So this is with respect to soil, mobility of nutrients in soil. Nutrient mobility varies between ions, where nitrate, sulfate, chloride, and boric acid. See the boric acid, the uptake form of boron is boric acid. It is not taken up in ionic form. Boron is taken up in molecular form, in the form of boric acid. So these are not strongly attracted to exchange sites. So therefore, they are soluble in soil and readily move through the root zone with water. So these are having highly mobile ions, nitrate, sulfate, and chloride. Thus, mobile nutrients within the whole soil volume occupied by plant root system are available for transport to root in percolating and transpirational water. As the water moves in the soil, they easily move with the water. Relative mobility of each nutrient depends on soil pH, temperature, moisture, soil texture, type of clay, and organic matter. Means relative mobility of individual nutrient will be affected by these soil factors. For details, I would give you one reference, 4 or 5 pages or 10 pages you can read for this. Otherwise, one chapter is enough, I suggested you. So now see the immobile nutrients in soil. What are the immobile nutrients? Immobile nutrients interact with mineral and organic matter surfaces. So they are mostly attached to the organic matter or your colloids, you can say mineral colloids. They are less soluble and do not readily move throughout the root zone. Since these nutrients are relatively immobile in soil, plant roots access these nutrients from a small volume of soil surrounding individual roots. So their quantity may be more in the soil, but they are restricted to very small fraction of the soil. Unlike the nitrate, sulfate, chloride, they are distributed uniformly in the surface soil. Plants create a small zone around the root that has very low concentration of these immobile nutrients due to plant uptake. We continue immobile nutrients. The concentration gradient allows diffusion to transport nutrients that are further away from the root surface toward the root. If the soil has high buffering capacity here means it can hold high cations, higher quantity of cations. if the soil has a high buffering capacity for an immobile nutrients. Here, immobile nutrients, you will just see higher buffering capacity for an immobile nutrients. Buffering capacity means suppose there is deficiency or shortage of a particular nutrient in the soil solution. So how quickly it will be replenished? It will go back to the solution. So if the soil has high buffering capacity for an immobile nutrient, then the solution can be replenished and diffusion continues. With a low BC buffering capacity, solution concentration ultimately decreases, causing a nutrient deficiency. The important points of nutrient mobility. Overall, you have seen for immobile nutrients, mobile nutrients. The important points are the mobile anions, sulfate, nitrate, chloride, quickly move through the root zone with water. This question is very important for objective. Sometimes in objective questions, you can get this question, the mobile anions, the examples, sulfate, nitrate, and chloride, quickly move. The mobile nutrients are available within the whole soil volume uniformly. This is another important point about mobile nutrients. These days, you get questions in multiple choice. Choose the one which is wrong about this. So you will get 4 choices. One may be wrong, one may be incorrect. So suppose first 2 choices are correct, third one is also correct, and fourth one somebody make it incorrect. So you can get question in that way also. So the immobile nutrients interact with exchange surfaces and are less soluble and move slowly through the root zone to root surfaces. So movement of these is very slow. Ammonical or ammonium, potassium, calcium, magnesium are more soluble and mobile compared to micronutrient cations, H2PO4, phosphate, orthophosphate, and molybdenate. So the most mobile is sulfate, nitrate, chloride, followed by ammonical, ammonium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc. And these H2PO4 and molybdenate are low mobile nutrients. The knowledge of nutrient mobility is useful in deciding the nutrient management practices. Why we are studying it? Because it helps in the management of nutrients. For example, N fertilizer being mobile in soil could be broadcast on the soil surface or applied in bands with almost similar results. The P fertilizer should be placed in bands in the root zone as phosphorus is comparatively less mobile in the soil. Generally speaking, phosphate or phosphorus moves hardly 1 inch. Less than 1 inch movement is there in the soil. Now, you have seen the mobility of the nutrient is very, very important, affecting the availability of nutrients. Availability of nutrients means there has to be sufficient quantity of nutrient ion or mineral in the soil solution. If you have shortage of a particular nutrient in the soil solution, that means we do not have sufficient supply. So that was one factor, mobility. So mobility is important, how fast it can replenish the soil solution. Number 2 is cation and anion exchange capacity of the soil. Generally speaking, higher the cation exchange capacity, higher is the availability of the nutrient. The clays and humus work as soil colloids. I think everyone knows it. These are exchange sites, absorbing the cations and certain anions. Cation and anion exchange occurs in soils between soil solution and colloids. So there can be direct exchange of ions in soil solution and exchangeable sites or colloids. Ion exchange is a reversible process. Cation exchange is more important as the cation exchange capacity is larger than the anion exchange capacity in most soils. No doubt, anion exchange is also important, particularly in acidic soils. This process enhances availability and retention of plant nutrients. If your cation exchange capacity or anion exchange capacities are very low, then the soils will have low quantity of nutrients, less quantity of nutrients. It cannot retain higher quantity of nutrients if exchange capacities are low. Soils dominated by oxides of aluminum. You should remember this. Soils dominated by oxides of aluminum have positive sites in acidic soils. They have positive sites in acidic soils. This happens in acidic soil, and anions can be adsorbed and dissolved from them. So exchange can happen from the oxides of aluminum. These are it is a kind of mineral. Nitrate and chloride are weakly held at positive sites of the soil colloids and more likely to be found in soil solution. They can be part of the exchange process, but they are very weakly held on the exchangeable sites. Phosphate and sulfate are strongly bound to the exchange sites compared to nitrate and chloride. Anion exchange capacity increases as soil pH decreases. This is the relationship. AEC is much higher in acidic soil. Anion exchange capacity is much higher in acidic soil, mainly because of increased levels of oxides of aluminum. Except aluminum and sodium, most of the exchangeable cations are plant nutrients. You have seen, you know what are the positively charged cations as essential elements. In acidic soils, the principal cations are aluminum, hydrogen, and potassium, whereas in neutral and basic soils, the predominant cations are calcium, magnesium, and sodium. Cations are adsorbed to the CEC with different adsorption strength. The adsorption strength will be different, influencing the ease with which cations can be replaced or exchanged with other cations, because you want their supply to the soil solution. How easily they can be supplied or they can be removed or detached or dissolved from the exchangeable site. For most minerals, the strength of cation adsorption is generally represented by aluminum +3, hydrogen +1, calcium +2, magnesium +2, potassium +2. So aluminum has highest strength, means it will be detached it will be very difficult to detach. And compared to aluminum, hydrogen can be removed much easier than aluminum, then calcium, then magnesium. So this is the sequence that their strength is decreasing. So aluminum, hydrogen, calcium, magnesium, potassium is equivalent to ammonium, and then sodium. Sodium has lowest attachment, means this will be the first to be removed, then ammonium, then potassium, something like this. So here you are seeing one interesting fact, that the valencies are decreasing. Valencies of the ion +3, +1, just you forget hydrogen, but then you have +2, +2, and then +1. So this ammonium is not for, there is some problem with this. NH4 +1, this is also +1. This is a mistake here. Don't consider it as 4+. This is just 1+. The 4 could have been subscript here. So anybody knows the reason why this happens? That as the valencies are decreasing, the strength of attachment is decreasing. But hydrogen has just one valency, but it is in between plus aluminum and calcium. Can anyone answer this question? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yes.
Sir, this valency, higher valency means higher attraction. This we get from the Coulomb's law, means the force of attraction is higher in case of higher valency, and as their valency is high, their molecular or ionic radius is small, means ionic distance is small. So according to Coulomb's law, the force of attraction is the product of their valency and inversely proportional to their distance. So if distance is less, their attraction is high. But in case of hydrogen, as it is monovalent cation, but its radius is too much small, that's why its distance is less, and that's why the force of attraction is high.
Okay. Thank you very much. But at the moment, because I'm not good in chemistry, I cannot say whether you replied correctly or incorrectly. But answer here is answer here is, I don't know whether you are right or wrong. Answer here is that hydrogen ion is unique because of its very small size. I think you also said about radius, very small size and high charge density. The charge density is high. That is the reason. High charge density. I don't understand what is charge density, but you can try to learn it. What is high charge density? Thus, its absorption strength is between aluminum and calcium. So this is the answer given by Havlin book, but I don't know whether you said right answer or wrong. You can relate it to your answer, Abhijit. The properties of the cations determine the strength of adsorption or ease of desorption. The properties. First, the strength of adsorption is directly proportional to the charge on the cations. Charge, more the charge, more is the adsorption strength generally. Then the hydrogen ion is unique because of its very small size and high charge density. Thus, its adsorption strength is between aluminum and calcium. Second, the adsorption strength for cations with similar charge is determined by the size of radii. Means if charge is same, then size of radii will be important. If it is hydrated ion, as the size of the hydrated cation increases, the distance between the cation and the clay surface increases. Larger hydrated cations cannot get as close to the exchange surface as smaller cations, resulting in a decreased strength of adsorption. I think you are partly right. Now the radius is coming into the picture. More the radius, less is the attraction. CC, now we see about the cation exchange capacity is one of the most important soil properties influencing nutrient availability and retention in soil. Soil CEC represents the total quantity of negatively charged surface charge on minerals and organic matter available to attract cations in solution. CEC is expressed as milliequivalent of negative charge per 100 gram of oven dried soil. Milliequivalent per 100 gram. Now you have new unit. Now anion exchange capacity, AEC. Anions in soil solution are adsorbed to plus charge sites on clay mineral edges and organic matter. Anion exchange may also occur with hydroxyl groups on the hydroxyl surface of kaolinite. Displacement of hydroxyl ion from hydrous iron and aluminum oxides is important mechanism for anion exchange, particularly in highly weathered soils of tropics and subtropics. AEC increases as soil pH decreases. AEC is much greater in acid soils, high in 1:1 clays, and those containing iron and aluminum oxides than in soils with predominantly 2:1 type of clays. So these are the characteristics where you will have higher anion exchange capacity. Montmorillonite minerals usually have an AEC of less than 5 milliequivalent per 100 gram, whereas kaolinite can have an AEC as high as 40 milliequivalent per 100 gram at pH 4.7. This question, objective question is sometimes asked in your quiz exams. Montmorillonite minerals usually have an AEC of less than 5, whereas kaolinite can have an AEC as high as 40 milliequivalent per 100 gram at pH 4.7. Anions such as chloride and nitrate may be adsorbed, although not the extent of H2PO4 and sulfate. They are adsorbed with more strength than chloride and nitrate. The order of adsorption strength is H2PO4, orthophosphate, sulfate, nitrate, and chloride. Now we see cation and anion exchange capacity of the soil. So you have soil solution. Nutrient anions and cation in available form are there. Plant roots uptake of anions and cation can happen in number 1. In number 2, you can see soil colloids, clay and humus. They have adsorbed cation and anions and they can exchange with soil solution. So this is very simplified diagrams. exchange of cations and anion between soil colloids and soil solution, and between plant uptake and soil solution. Now, after cation and anion exchange capacity, now third one is buffering capacity of the soil. Buffering capacity here with respect to buffering of the soil solution. Buffering of the soil solution. For this, you can have these three references. In total, there are 5 or 6 pages you may like to read. Quantity intensity relationship. The quantity intensity relationship is mostly with respect to phosphorus and potassium. Only with respect to phosphorus and potassium. However, it can be with many other elements also or nutrients also, but it is mostly discussed in reference to phosphorus and potassium supply. So you can see the nature and properties of soil, page number 686 to 687. Quantity intensity relationship in soil fertility management for sustainable agriculture by R. Prasad. This is 217 to 219 pages, 2 pages only, small pages. Buffering capacity, soil fertility and fertilizer, Havlin, 35 to 36 pages in the chapter number 2. So these are the references you can see in detail. It is given in much detail and very simple language to understand this subject. Buffering capacity of nutrients or soil nutrients buffering capacity. The ability of soil to resupply iron to the soil solution from different sources. Clays and humus are primarily the sources of nutrients. It can be defined as the ratio of the concentration of the adsorbed, that is delta Q, iron, and solution, that is delta I. Iron means concentration of iron in the solution is represented by intensity, and total content that is adsorbed to the colloids is your total quantity, delta Q. And Q will supply to the I, to the solution. Soils may vary in buffering capacity. Some may have more and some may have less. Generally, buffering capacity in soil increases with increasing CEC. If your CEC is increasing, buffering capacity increases, organic matter and other solid constituent in the soil. The buffering capacity of Montmorillonite high organic matter soil is greater than that of kaolinite low organic matter soils. So this is directly related to cation exchange capacity. Since CEC increases with increasing clay content, fine textured soils will have higher buffering capacity than coarse textured soils. If exchangeable K decreases by plant uptake or leaching, the capacity of soil to buffer solution K is lower in sandy soil. Because of low cation exchange capacity, the nutrient may become deficient and K fertilizer will be needed to supply increase exchangeable K and correct the K deficiency. Addition of phosphatic fertilizer will increase adsorbed phosphate, while some H2PO4 may also precipitate as solid P compounds, both of which contribute to the phosphorus buffering capacity in the soils. It is evident that buffering capacity is a very important soil property that strongly influences the nutrient availability. Nutrient availability in soil solution. If the same rate of fertilizer P is added to both soils, the resulting solution H2PO4 concentration will be greater in the sandy soil than in the clay soil because of high buffering capacity of the clay soil than the sandy soil. Alternatively, if we wanted to establish the same solution phosphorus concentration in both soils, then more fertilizer P would be needed in the clay soil compared to the sandy soil, again because of high buffering capacity of clay compared to sand. Buffering capacity already explained to you, concentration of the adsorbed iron delta Q upon concentration of solution delta I iron. And it also follows the almost kind of quadratic relationship. This Q and I relationship is roughly quadratic relationship, and same way you can explain it. On y-axis you can have intensity, on x-axis you can have intensity, on y-axis you can have quantity, and just plot, and you can see the just like marginal return, some some experience you have, you can see that way also. Now, for fifth important factor is your soil pH, which affects the nutrient availability. And I think each one of you knows the relationship of soil pH and nutrient availability. Nutrients become less available to crops when soils are too acidic or too alkaline. If soils are too acidic, availability of calcium, magnesium, and potassium reduces, but availability of iron and aluminum increases. If soils are too alkaline, iron, manganese, zinc, copper may become less available. Availability of P is less at too low or too high pH. So you will study this subject in soil fertility course, and I would suggest even the students of soil science to get this course offered, soil fertility and its management, nutrient management in agronomy. We offer this course to soil science students also, and every time many soil science students who have minor in agronomy, they take this course. So you can also consider to take this course if you like. Soil organic matter and its decomposition by microbe. You already know that soil organic matter supplies the nutrients also, besides improving the physical, chemical, biological properties of the soil. If biological, physical, chemical properties are improved by organic matter, it will definitely increase the nutrient availability. And it is also source of nutrients. So after decomposition, it will directly supply the nutrients. So therefore, sufficient level of organic matter are necessary to have supply of nutrients. That is the reasons farmer apply manures to the soil. So availability of nutrients from soil organic matter depends on microbial activity in soil. Important microbial processes are organic matter decomposition and denitrification. Fresh plant or other organic residues are subject to fairly rapid decomposition, and humus component of SOM resists microbial degradation. So already you can have some idea that this organic matter supply will increase the nutrient availability. So you can go through it. You please read what I could not read here. You can read yourself. This is very, very important. You will get several questions in quiz on this subject. Like in virgin soil, uncultivated soil, the organic matter content is determined by soil texture, topography, and climatic conditions. Organic matter content is higher in cooler than in warmer climate. So you must see the subject matter of SOM, soil organic matter, from Brady book, Nature and Properties of Soil. You should read chapter on soil organic matter. So these differences are related to reduced potential. So I'm not going into the details of this soil organic matter. You can go through it. You see how it is decomposed through the mineralization process. Nutrients are released, and immobilization of nutrients can also happen. It depends upon CN ratio in the soil. In the decomposition process, soil organic matter gives nutrients in inorganic forms. If there are insufficient nutrients in soil organic matter to meet the microbial demand, then the microbes can take up inorganic nutrients and immobilization can happen. The microbial activities and rate of release of nutrients from soil organic matter is affected by CN ratio, soil moisture and temperature. So the last thing is that physical condition of the soil also affect the nutrient availability. Poorly structured soil increases the soil erosion by runoff, losing valuable nutrients, soil microbes, and organic matter. So physical condition, degraded soils cannot supply you more nutrients. Saline and alkaline soils similarly cannot supply you sufficient nutrients. So if anybody asks me that which one is the most important soil property, no doubt each soil property is equally important, but the soil property which is most important in my view is soil structure. Soil structure is the most important soil property that will influence the plant growth, water relations, and your microbial activities. All sorts of interactions and things, air content, are governed by soil structure. My dear students, you should have good idea, good knowledge of soil structure. what is soil structure, how it is formed, what are different kinds of soil structure, how soil structure interacts with soil microbes, how it interacts with clays, how it interacts with humus, how it interacts with soil temperature. Very, very important soil property is soil structure. Therefore, you should have good idea about soil structure. It also influences the root growth. So, soil erosion decreases cation exchange capacity. If you lose the soil, means you are losing organic matter, losing humus. So your CEC will reduce. Poor soil structure restricts the root growth and thus reduces access to the available nutrients. So you can see that indirectly soil structure is important for availability of nutrients. Optimum level of soil water means a higher level of most nutrient in solution, leading to improved nutrient uptake by diffusion and root interception. Adequate moisture also increases the rate of soil organic matter decomposition. It should not be too much. You need ideal moisture conditions. Poorly drained soils increase the solubility of minerals, making them sometimes toxic to the plants. If there is shortage of oxygen in the soil, then you can have reduced forms of several ions or several elements that can be toxic to the plants. Nitrates can be lost due to denitrification. Low moisture can result in reduced nutrient uptake. So both extremes of moistures are not good. Already discussed with you the moisture and nutrient availability. So thank you very much, and I can stop the share or stop the recording.